I began this project on Tuesday by making a mess. Yep, stitching and holes and gesso everywhere. But wait until you see how it transforms. I'm going to make 3 unique journal covers. Yes, today we're using that paper lace, or we might call it netting, to finish 3 very different pieces. One with stamping, with distressing and lots of smudging of green and brown so that it looks, rustic, I guess. And then another that has a soft watercolor wash, some pinks and blues and purples, hues. And it's a different stitching, different method of stitching. And then a third, no stitching. This one has some twine in between napkin, and then the background is transformed by clear gesso before tearing holes in it, of course. By the end, you'll not only see 3 complete journal covers, not polished, but they're complete. They're started. But also, you'll have new ideas that you can use for deliberately delicate or tricky papers in your own projects. This paper lace isn't what I thought it would turn out to be, but it might just be the thing for a grungy junk journal or a spooky one. It couldn't help but cross my mind to attach some creepy crawly legs. You get the idea. Yuck. My grandson would love that anyhow. So these covers from paper lace that I started on Tuesday are something unexpected. I knew what I wanted, and sometimes things just don't turn out the way you think they should, or would, or could. But I finished them. I was really tempted just to, let go of the whole idea. But I kept going, and I am pleased that I finished. So this paper lace started off with a bunch of stitching on a sewing machine, round and round and random and here and there and all over. And then I spritzed it with some water to weaken the paper fibers, and then just used a palette knife and tore willy-nilly. Not quite sure what would happen. And then I covered it with gesso, the clear gesso. Yep, this is another gesso video, but different. Because I'm not obscuring anything, I'm just creating a more sturdy space, even though there's so many holes. And this one, I imagine some leaves, maybe die cuts, hanging from it when it eventually gets on its cover. I imagine maybe a fall feeling, or as I mentioned, grungy. And the green reminds me of moss, and the writing reminds me of maybe old letters lost in the leaves. So it brought my imagination. I thought about using that encyclopedia page to see how it looked, or this it's not construction paper, cardstock. Yeah. But the cardstock was a little too, what can I say, bland. Nope, not the dictionary paper. The cardstock. And it needed to be grunged up too. A little bit of moss, a little bit forest stuff. What else would you add for that kind of vibe? Yeah. I'm Lori. I make things out of paper, and I like to do a deep dive into things, and I sort of came by this idea when I started exploring gesso and all the different kinds of gesso and different ways of using gesso. But this one really didn't belong with the other gessos. This one was unique, so hence a separate video just for it. And I wanted to see how dressy it could be, how fancy it could be, and how grungy it could be. And then my favorite, one of my favorites, paper napkins, how that would work out. So you'll see that in this video. And then we'll go on to something next week, something different. I like to sort of imagine different methods, different techniques in this world of junk journaling. Do you often use distress ink? I kind of go on, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. It depends what the project is. I'm looking forward to building out these different little journals. This one here, kind of grungy. I'm going to leave out the creepy crawly legs though. And the second cover that you'll see, I'm going to try and make it more ornate. I've been having a hankering to make a medieval journal, so I might try that. You'll see that soon. How are you doing? What's on your creative desk or spot where you play with paper? Are you into a fall journal? This being close to or already the starting of the fall in the northern hemisphere. Well, the cold weather. I suppose it's fall, autumn in the southern hemisphere too, just warmer weather coming for those of you there. Here we're getting toward the crunchy leaves. So this, in some ways, it reminds me of bark because the clear gesso that I put on there makes it a bit crunchy. And by tearing holes into the paper, it doesn't lie completely flat. Eventually, as I build out the cover, I think I'll sew around it. But for now, I'm just going to use a little bit of art glitter glue to tack it down. What else would you put on there? If you're doing an autumn journal, what do you put in your autumn journals? Leave a comment. Let me know. Give me some ideas. There we go. You see all the stitching all over the place. I have this really old sewing machine. It's 40 years old. And it still works. The going backwards button doesn't work anymore, but it's good for junk journaling. If you had watched the Tuesday video, you'd see me using it. That was a bit of an adventure trying to set it up. So there we go. One cover. Not finished, but begun. Kind of grungy, kind of, I don't know. Now I have another piece of cardstock, this deep, dark, teal blue. You see the way it began at the first with the plain white, and then I used different colors of watercolor with a complete wash of gray over top because it was a little too bright, a little too pastel-y. And I really like the color of the cardstock underneath. The way it shows through. It's rich. I have some ribbon and some it's not yarn, but it is fancy thread that I'm going to use on this journal that I mentioned. I think I'm going to head toward a kind of medieval feel of it. I began with this in a folder, an embossed folder. I knew I wanted to have lines, and so you could just draw some lines if you don't have an embossing folder. But this worked out really well because I could sew and follow the lines as I was sewing, and then I could put it back in the embossing folder so that the lines showed up again. Because by the time I had spritzed it with water and then covered it with clear gesso, the lines kind of faded away. And now I'm trying to just dot some art glitter glue into the places that will hit the cardstock, because I don't want to flatten it down again. I want it to keep its texture. And choosing where to tear randomly, in a way it reminds me of something you'd find in the back of some stone castle with a rotting wood wardrobe, and there would be this remnant of a piece of fabric that's slightly damaged but still beautiful. So that's where my imagination went with this cover. I'm going to try and work on that concept as I finish out the cover, the journal cover. It'll be a small journal, one signature, not too many pages. I have to think about what kind of paper, what kind of pages need to be in the middle. I have one book cover? No, it's a book page. And someone at our crafting group, where we craft in person, she handed it to me and said, "Here, this will go in your medieval journal." And she's right, it'll go beautifully. So that'll be one page. And I have a book that someone else gave me that has pictures of paintings from the 1400s. So some of those images of women will go well. And as you can see, it's a small journal, so maybe it'll end up just this here will become a booklet in a larger journal. Depends how much time I decide to gift to the medieval journal at this time, because Christmas is coming. Yeah, I have some ideas of Christmas journals. I'm originally from Canada, and in Canada there's a coffee shop called Tim Hortons. And 2 years ago, someone sent me some of their cups. You'll see that as I make it for Christmas. It's really cute. It's like a snow globe. The image on the cup was a snow globe. So that's Christmas coming. But next, you'll see some more medieval. And this is a napkin. What I did first was tear apart the plies and just use half of the napkin, and then laid down the twine that you see in a grid pattern and put clear gesso over top of the colorful ply of the paper napkin along with the twine. And then when it was completely saturated, I added back the white ply and sandwiched it between the two layers. You can see that, me doing it on Tuesday's ASMR video. It dried. It took a while to dry. And but it's surprisingly tough right now. Just tearing it. I actually have to use the scissor to poke holes in it. My palette knife doesn't work to poke holes in this. So paper napkin with gesso on it is stronger than copy paper with clear gesso on it. I suppose it's 2 layers, but still. Yeah, so this is going to go on top of the paper you see. I tea and Easter egg dyed it into a pattern from a stencil. And I want it to show through the little holes. See, underneath. and I'll just bend the sides over. But then I realized that, oh dear, the way I want to do it, when it folds, it's not going to fold properly, meaning the more intricate part won't be at the front. So it'll have to be at the back, and we'll show part of the rose through it. I'm going to tear part of the top of the paper off in a little bit when I realize I don't want it to be as tall as an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So that'll come off. And I did a lot of this in my Tuesday videos, which are in real time, the amount of time it takes. The videos that I make on Fridays, they are voiceover, obviously. Here I am talking to you. And I speed them up because I'm a really slow crafter. But I'm enjoying it. And this schedule seems to be working well for me. So, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying what you're doing. Maybe you're in a little bit of funk. You can't think of what you want to do next. When I'm like that, I usually watch a few videos, and if I find something that just tickles a little bit, I think about, do I have what it takes in my craft room? And if I do, I might just pull a few things out and try to match what they're doing, or riff on what they're doing, or completely mess up and not do well what they're doing. But it gets me out of my funk. It allows me to just play. And this is why I started junk journaling in the first place. I had done a lot of different crafting. I've sewn, obviously, a sewing machine, and done crocheting and done embroidery, and of course with paper. I've always enjoyed paper. So all these things were sitting around, and some of them were at our daughter's because we traveled with an RV for a few years. We'd sold our house and put everything in storage. So our daughter took a bunch of stuff and she added to it. But now it's back with me, and so I have all these things from different hobbies, different handcrafts, sitting now with me. And so I have some choices of things that I can try. So if I'm ever flummoxed, not sure what to do next, I just think of one of the hobbies and see if I can find something, a video to inspire me. The artists that I watched to make this paper lace concept, there's a group of them, and many of them were a year or more. I'll link below to those artists. And I really appreciate when other people share what they do, so that we can all embellish or add on to or make our own a new paper fun piece of handwork. And I really hope that you become inspired by what you're seeing here, and you do something, and you do it better, you do it more interestingly. I'm cheering you on. It's good for the soul to do things with your hands. It's good for your heart. It's good for your mood. And it's okay if it's not perfect. This junk journaling is about personality, not perfection. Just tell yourself that. And if things don't work out so well, that's okay. No harm, no foul. Carry on. And it's okay. I'm whispering now, as though. But it's okay to repurpose something you made that you don't care for, or even if it slides off the desk into the round filing cabinet, if you get my meaning. that's okay too. Because tomorrow's a new day. You still have lots of paper and lots of things to play with. And you can start over. So, what are you going to make? What are you going to make next week? This week? Tomorrow? I'm sure there's lots of interesting things at hand, in a box, or sitting on a shelf. One of the things I want to try is stitching. I have a lot of embroidery floss, that's the name, that someone gave me, an entire container full. And I felt badly that I haven't used it yet, so that's on the list. Maybe not this year still, but definitely next year. A little bit of stitching. So there are 3 journal covers right there. And they're unique. It's a unique texture and a unique look. We'll see if I can improve it a little bit. And in the meantime, if nobody's told you yet, you matter. What you feel, what you think, what you do, it matters. And I wish you well. I wish you joy in making something. Here we go. Here's the 3 covers. They're pretty different, aren't they? But all the same technique. Making a mess. Yep. With water and gesso and paint and ink and then enjoying something different and unique. I hope you have fun this week. I hope you enjoy your crafting. Next week we're going to try something different. I have wax seal stamps, so I'm going to try something new with those. In the meantime, take care. Enjoy your crafting. Make something pretty or grungy or exciting or just plain and relaxing. But whatever you do, enjoy. If you've enjoyed this video or the series on gesso, or just are interested in where we're going to go next, I invite you to subscribe. I invite you to like. I would love to spend more time with you. Bye for now.